Pleasure of the board.
I move to accept them as presented, Mr. Chair.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and second to accept the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 7:05. Got like a minute. Huh? 7:05 liquor license transfer hearing continued for 180 Church Street, O'Malley Brothers, Inc., to Colonial Tea House. If the parties would step forward. The involved parties. Joyce, do you need their name and addresses, or? Sure. Could you just state your name and address for this?
Okay. My name is Ed Sheridan, attorney for Keith O'Malley, DBA North End Cafe, Inc. My office is at 1175 Main Street.
And I'm William O'Neill, representing Mary Martin Summers. My address is 77 High Street, Clinton.
Gentlemen, hi.
Good evening. When we last left about 2 weeks ago, there was some discussion about having, or the desire to have some input from the school committee, and at that time we were aware that the school committee had not met the night before, 2 nights before, due to extenuating circumstances, and I had asked at that point, was there anything else, and it seemed, or it appeared that the school committee input was a critical piece of input that the board would be looking for. So I'm happy to say that last evening, Mary Martin Summers and I attended the school committee meeting and addressed first they let us speak and then asked if there were any questions that they may have or concerns they may have. And I'm happy to say that it was not met with any objection, and the members that were giving input were Mr. Epstein, Mrs. McGrail, and Mrs. Troutner. They did ask some question of Mr. Gaw, and the discussion seemed to be favorable. I asked them if they would please to communicate to Mr. Ward whatever they felt was appropriate. They didn't do any motion or voting, but I did ask them to submit something. So I think that we're at the same stage that we were at when the board was entertaining a motion to approve or deny, and I'm certainly willing to go through the the explanation and the presentation for the Colonial Tea House again, but or certainly answer any questions that the board has.
Yeah, I don't think we need the presentation, but I'll open it up to the board members if they have any questions or comments. Or
The only question I pose the hours again.
The hours will be pretty much the same as they are now, and for the most part, they would the Colonial Tea House would be closed by 5 o'clock most days. However, if there's a private party, it may stay open later. It certainly is unlikely to be open beyond 9 o'clock on any given evening. Let me just make sure that. Yes.
okay. Bob?
I don't have any questions. I did attend the school committee meeting last night.
Yeah, we got
Not in
that,
the
yeah.
selectman's capacity. I was there to celebrate.
He was there for the birthday party.
Yeah,
Bernice
I happened
McGrail
to,
turned 85.
I happened to listen to the conversation that was held.
Okay. Joe? Okay. This is an open hearing, so if there's anybody out there to speak for or against this transfer. There being none, I'll close the public comment portion. Did the selectmen have anything else they want to add?
I just have a comment.
Steven?
I'm usually pretty consistent on how I vote when it comes to this type of issues. But I take each one very objectively, and I like to get my facts right, just to understand what I'm voting for, especially when it's close to schools and close to churches and stuff like that. I know Mary's, runs a very reputable business. Like I said, I've known her, not intimate, but I've known her like from school. You know, she's working hard to try to make her business go. So just don't let me down with that. It's a different type of business. It's not a bar per se. I'm very disappointed if that became just another bar in the town of Clinton. Very disappointed. So with that said, I think we can move forward.
Nothing else from anybody? At this point, I'll close the hearing, public hearing. And what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the liquor license as presented, along with the transfer from O'Malley Brothers to Colonial TS.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? I'll second that. Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous, Joyce.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good luck.
Thank you.
One second.
The board is required under the statute to make a specific finding that the granting of the license is not detrimental to the educational and spiritual activities of any schools or churches that would occupy pursuant to this process. So you would just need to make that in the form of a motion.
Mr. Chairman?
And then myself or Michael can draft up the notice to the ABCC, which would indicate that each of the schools in the area and each of the churches in the area is not detrimental to the educational and spiritual activities of that.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would move forward with the town solicitor's recommendation to do such.
Second.
I'll second that. Comment?
Under discussion, yeah.
The fact that none of them have replied to us is good enough to draft that?
Yes.
Okay.
They're required to have an objection to put it in writing
Yep.
before the board.
Okay.
They haven't done that. My understanding is that at least verbally communicated at one of the meetings, at least the school board did, that they weren't
Mhm.
against it.
Sure.
And
Okay.
no churches have provided any written objection to the board.
Okay.
Under discussion too, just along those same lines, since the churches that are around that establishment have not done anything negative, and the schools based, although they did not vote on it, they don't think it should be an issue. I feel a little bit more comfortable doing that. You know, I can't judge how somebody's going to be affected spiritually or with something like that, and I don't pretend to do so. So, you know, I always have a tough time with that, as I said earlier. So,
And another relevant consideration that the board would consider is there are some other establishments that have liquor licenses within that zone that haven't had any problems, and they haven't been detrimental to the educational and spiritual activities, so that's another indication that you could use to support this.
Okay. Anything further under discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Wish you the best of luck.
Good luck.
good luck, Mayor. Thanks.
Thanks,
Keith,
guys.
good luck to you.
Keith, good luck. It's 7:14. We're right on. Okay, next up at 7:15, Habitat for Humanity of North Central Massachusetts. So, if you want to step forward. If you would, just state your name and address for the secretary. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
Town administrator?
Uh,
No, it's okay.
do you need him here? We can certainly get him.
No, that's fine. I had met with several of your people during the summer and talked a little bit about what Habitat does and how it works on a local level. Our organization is part of the larger organization of Habitat for Humanity International, and I'm sure that you've all seen a lot of press about Habitat recently. So you know that Habitat builds homes not for people, but with people in need. It's not a giveaway program. It's truly a hand up, not a handout, because families work to build their own homes alongside volunteers. And at the completion, the house is sold to them at no profit, and with a zero-interest mortgage, which makes it truly affordable for people whose income is within 30 to 50% of median income, which in this area is about $19,000 to $31,000 for a family of 4. So these are, people who would not have any other opportunity to live in decent housing and pay less than they do to live in housing that they're renting. We cover in our area 23 towns and cities, from Gardner on the west over to Littleton and Acton on the east, up to the New Hampshire border and down to Clinton. What we do is to try to work with individuals and with groups in towns and cities and with people like yourselves, the selectmen and other municipal officials, to try to identify land that can be used for a habitat house. A lot of our property comes from municipalities. Some of it comes from private donations, and sometimes those private donations are spurred because of the publicity that comes with municipal donation. And some of them have been given by banks, that sort of thing. We've built in Leominster, Gardner, Fitchburg, Groton, Littleton, Ayer, forgetting one place. And we'd like to think that Clinton might be a welcoming town for us to come in and form a local project committee and work alongside your local citizens to build a home with a family in need. So basically, that's why I'm here to talk about, what possibilities you might see, whether this is something that you think would be welcomed in your town. The way we would work would be, we'd come in and we'd actually try to form a local committee so that local people have a lot of input into what happens. We build houses that are congruent with the neighborhoods. We've got a number of different designs that we would use and could see, so that you could see how they would fit in with the neighborhood and not be something that says, oh, that's a particular kind of a house. The houses are very well built. The story goes that years ago when Hurricane Andrew hit in Florida, they just completed a habitat build, and not one of those houses sustained any damage more than a few shingles flying off the roof. And the reason we say that is because it's built with love and it's built by amateurs. Because if you're a contractor, time is money, and you're there every 16 inches, whereas the volunteers are in there and you've got 3 nails where you really only need 1. That house is solid. One of the advantages that towns are seeing more and more is that we can help to build your stock of affordable housing. We've had an experience with another town where we're working toward getting land, where they've welcomed us with open arms because they've been through an unpleasant situation with a 40B development. So that's one real advantage of having Habitat come in. Not that we're going to build a lot of houses, but that it demonstrates to the state that you're taking steps to reach the affordable quota and that you're doing it in some creative ways. Another town that we're working with is trying to make it a condition for some of the developers to come in that they deed a couple of those lots to Habitat. So there are lots of ways that you could be helpful to us, or the town could be helpful to us. The houses are small. They are about 1,200 square feet. They usually have 3 bedrooms, a bath, or if it's a 2-story house, it would be a bath and a half. We abide by all of the regulations that are required by the town. We don't get any favors. We would go through everything. Now, we talk about our houses being built by volunteers, but we employ a full-time construction manager who is licensed. And of course, like anybody else, we have to have licensed people to do the electrical, the plumbing, the heating. And, we don't run the excavation machines ourselves either. We have to get that contracted out. But primarily, the grunt work and a lot of the skilled work is done by volunteers. And it's interesting what happens in a town that, even though it's a relatively small town, you know, that people circulate in special areas and they don't always get to know each other. Something like this just brings people together. You know, you'll have the people from one side of town meeting people from the other side of town. It really gives a nice feeling to a town. It really brings together school people, seniors, people of all ages. So, you know, basically this is just to introduce Habitat and ask if you can make any suggestions as to, you know, how we might proceed to find some land in Clinton and, you know, take a long-term look at this. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, we know that. In fact, we worked on one piece of land for 12 years before we got it. So we're persistent. But, so I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I have one question. How do you go about getting the land, though? 'Cause
Well, some of it comes from municipalities, and in that case, usually what happens is there's land that's been taken for taxes or for some other reason is in the town's possession. If people in the town decide that that's a piece of land that they think would be suitable for Habitat, it would go to a town meeting.
Okay.
And the warrant article would state that this is a piece of land that is to be put up for application by any nonprofit builder who will build an affordable house on the land. That has to pass by a 2/3 vote. If it does, then the town issues an RFP, a request for proposals, and we would respond, and, you know, we don't know if anyone else would respond, and then, you know, the town would decide who if anyone, had the opportunity to build on that lot. So, as I said, you know, it's not a slam dunk. It's something that takes a while and some preparation.
What, if the town had a particular parcel of land, like with a house on it, does Habitat for Humanity ever rehab existing houses?
It wouldn't be our first choice, but we sure wouldn't turn it down. We would want to take a look at it and see, because one of the things that we really try to do is to build energy-efficient houses. And if we're looking at a big old house that we're going to have to gut, it might not be cost-effective. But if it were cost-effective, yeah, we'd do that.
Yeah, I do have one more. And what usually, is there a cost to the town? I mean, besides giving the land or something like that?
No, there isn't a cost to the town. We raise the money privately.
Okay, thank you.
If you have CPA funds, do you have community preservation funds?
Mr. Lowe's in the audience. Mr. Rollins.
Mr. Chairman, I just had a question. I'm the Director of Community and Economic Development for the town. I was wondering if Habitat ever receives donations of land from private individuals that they could use as a gifting for tax purposes and so forth.
Yes.
Because we might have occasion to run across someone who owns a parcel that hasn't been developed yet that perhaps might like to make a donation to Habitat for tax purposes as well. Wouldn't necessarily have to come from the municipality.
That's correct. You know, we've had land from private individuals as well as from municipalities.
And I think that's what Ms. Foley had asked to come before the board, just to try to introduce the program to the town. If the town had some land, that would be great. But even if Zoom was watching, or if the press is going to do a story on this, just to get the word out around the community that they're interested in doing a project in Clinton. And if there are any private citizens or parcels that people would like to consider, they can give them a call in Pittsburgh or find a way to try and make it happen. So I think this was hoping that the board would give them a venue to kind of launch their program and start their process in Clinton.
We've had land donated by a bank that had bought, actually, that was a rehab that we did, that we learned a lot from. They had bought a piece of land so that they could expand, and there was an old house on it, and so they just lopped off that piece of land and gave us the land. We've had a number of private donations. We had a gentleman in Gardner who literally gave away his backyard. He lived in a development with, those straight streets and you back up to each other, and he had bought a double lot. He gave that lot to Habitat, and he now has a wonderful new neighbor. So, we've had experience with all sorts of things. We've also had land given by land trusts that, they had land that wasn't suitable for recreation or for conservation, a small lot that really couldn't be used for the townspeople. So that's another avenue that's possible.
Sounds like a good idea. I think it's a good program for what it sounds like. A lot of opportunity.
It seems like that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
How's it go after that? Say someone called tomorrow and said, hey, I got the parcel of land, and
Okay.
how's it run after that? I mean,
Well, we would do a title search. Depending on where it was located, we might do an environmental review. We probably would do an environmental review, at least a phase one. And then if everything checks out, we would accept the land and be very grateful.
just start building.
Well, no, we wouldn't start building.
you have to go
We'd have to
through
start
this.
raising money and then start building.
Okay.
And from start to finish, what's usually the average time?
For the actual construction,
Right.
it could be anywhere from 6 months to, we're coming up on finishing a house in Ayer that took longer than we expected because of all the rainy season in the spring, and then we had contractor problems. We were waiting for contractors. I think we all know about that. But, 6 months is more the average of how long it takes to build. We build primarily on Saturdays because we want volunteers to come, although, sometimes we have companies who'll come. They'll send their employees during the week, or we'll have, various kinds of groups.
So that includes like the fundraising part of it, 6 months? or a
No,
year?
no,
Okay, that's
no.
what I'm asking.
Right.
Say from fundraising to actually finish.
It depends. Fundraising is probably looking at a year.
Yeah, I would think, yeah.
What does the fundraising consist of? I mean, how do you do just
It depends on
businesses?
what the local group wants to do. We've had people do a variety of things, of fundraising events. We've also been able to go to corporations and banks who have been very generous. Groups, Rotary, Lions, those kinds of things.
So would it be like 3 years? I mean,
From start to finish, it could be, yeah.
Okay.
It could be.
okay. But it wouldn't be like 5,
2
7?
years would be better.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not like it would be 5, 6 years, okay.
Oh, no, and I'm thinking in terms of, from the time we tentatively identify a piece of land
Right.
to getting this group together, raising the money,
pretty good,
raising
actually.
awareness, it's choosing the family. Choosing the family is a long process because we're very careful.
But the outcome is wonderful.
Yeah, it is.
It gives somebody an opportunity who can't afford to buy a home, a chance to have a home of their own. It's a great program.
And if you build in Clinton,
That's a quick turnaround.
that
Yeah, it
secure,
is.
it would be a resident or someone from Clinton that gets that house?
It depends. If the land comes from the town, you can put that restriction on it.
Okay.
If, however, you want it to count toward your affordable housing, the Department of Community and Health, the DHCD,
Yeah.
Housing and Community Development, requires that we open it to anybody in the state. Realistically, the publicity will be around here. It'll probably be somebody from here or a surrounding town.
Which makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. And you know what? By the time the house is finished, they'll be a Clinton native.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. I don't
Thank you
have
for your
anything
time.
else.
Very, very informative.
Yeah, thank you very much. and
Could I
hopefully-
leave you?
Oh, please do.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
More information, the better. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you much. Thank you for the presentation.
Dennis. Dennis, what am I doing with this next one? need can I have a motion to go out of order,
So move, Mr. Chair.
go into administrative business?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll go into administrative business. Michael? Do you want to do that, or do you want me?
Sure, can we go down? Just some administrative items for the board review. We have late night closings that we've received to date for the month of November. Breakaway Billiards, Crystal Cafe, Gale House Grill, Jack's, Old Timer Restaurant, and Scooby Doo's.
It's the pleasure of the board.
So move as presented.
Is there a second? Your administrative business.
I'll second it for them to just.
Under discussion, sure.
We haven't heard anything back from the chief on jackets or anything?
No, his last suggestion was September and October, and then give him back to him November, and then see how it went from there.
The chief coming in today?
Yeah, he's coming in for
We want to table that?
Want to table that until he comes in?
Sure.
There's another issue here. that we
Yeah, there's
probably
something
talked
else we
about.
want to talk about. I'll take a motion to
I'll
table.
withdraw my motion.
Thank you. Want to make that motion? Table?
Make a motion to table this until John can talk to the chief. He's coming in today, so.
Motion to table, been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, it's unanimous. Joyce will table that one.
Next item is a request from the Clinton Police Relief Association to use the Town Hall Auditorium on Monday, October 31st for their annual Children's Halloween Party. I guess they had gone to another venue in the past, but they're looking to come back to the Town Hall this year.
Oh,
So move, Mr. Chair.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain from that. Abstain.
3 and 1 abstention.
The next item is a request for payment to Earth Tech for engineering work. Their most recent invoice, the amount of $73,470.
Yep, we can leave it. It's this right here. It's this one right here.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the bill as presented. It was overlooked at our last meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made, second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you. The next is a request of Clinton Middle School Symphony Singers. They're going to be performing with their orchestra at the Holiday Pops this year, and they're just asking permission to use the auditorium for rehearsal and some dates in November prior to the event, November 8th, 10th, 14th, 16th, and 18th.
Is there anything else scheduled?
I don't believe during those times, usually it's evenings,
Okay.
that we have people in here, so during those times it would be.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we authorize the,
I'll second that.
Motion made, second. And any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next is a request from the Town Hall Use Committee. They have reviewed a formal request for the Town Hall Auditorium for November 22nd for Thanksgiving interfaith service. It's an annual event that's held here at the Town Hall from 5 to 10 p.m.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to move forward with the application to use the town hall with the date, but under discussion. I have a question.
All right, hold on, motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made, second. Under discussion?
Under discussion, is there a policy for nonprofit groups to use the town hall? Can we waive the fee? This is a church group.
that's my question.
It's a group of churches. They all come together and do it every year.
What church is that, you know?
The pastor from
First congregation.
First Congregational has applied, but I noticed on the application a fee of $250. I think we'd find it in our hearts to waive the fee. It is Thanksgiving. It's a nonprofit group. I just don't know if there's a policy or not.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, well, we have a town hall committee that reviews like these, and I know the issues has come up in the past. And there is a policy, and the committee tries to follow the policy. And I believe they have paid the fee in the past, so I don't have a copy of the policy on me right now. But,
It's basically policy just covering this for the setting up and stuff, right?
Well, there's no custodial fee. That's what caught my eye. Is that everything all lumped into one?
Set up, do we have to set up chairs and stuff? Who does that? I think that's why we were doing it.
I mean, I know they're restoring their
That's
church
something,
clock and all that.
But you also have to have somebody here also.
When is this for? The 22nd?
22nd, from 5 to 10.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't know, there's a policy that actually says,
Yeah, but before we start, we took a lot of time to set up this committee and stuff. And
that's what I mean,
we
before
kind
we
of did,
start.
before we just said, doing that, we should, maybe sit down and discuss whether we want to, what are the implications to do this. I'm
Do we
not
have
saying
time?
shouldn't do it, but we
Do we
can.
have time to table this one? November 22nd, we'll be meeting before then.
I think we should vote to let them have it. We can
Right.
always discuss whether we want to waive the fee,
Waive the
right?
fee, right?
Right. But they work hard to do this, and I think they look at every aspect of it. I don't want to, what's the point of having a committee if you're going to
If you're gonna
change everything they do?
Yeah, I agree.
and also similar type requests may come up in the future, which would set a precedent.
Exactly. We got to be very careful,
Well, that's why I'm asking. I'm new to this. I
Right.
saw where it's a church. I just didn't think,
Well, the motion that was made was to go ahead with the application,
You still
so
can,
that's been made and seconded. So right now, all we're voting on is to allow the application to go through. That motion's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. And we'll look into the other thing. Good?
Maybe we can talk about it on the next meeting.
Sure.
Yeah, if we can get that on there, maybe get a copy of the policy or whatever.
We do have some new members that, can have a chance to look at the policy. We just got to be careful,
Okay, you-
No, I understand that, but I just saw church and there was no fee for a custodian. I figured if the custodial fee was waived.
Go ahead, Mike.
The next is a request from the Kadoshi International Ministry to erect a banner over High Street, November 7th, for the 28th Announcement Youth Congress, 2005 Youth Congress to be held in Lancaster, that their church is involved with.
7th to the 20th.
Do we have any other banners that are?
I don't believe it's...
No, I don't think there was any, right?
That'd be a time period.
It's the pleasure of the board.
Make a motion that we accept the request.
Motion made, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Under discussion?
Under discussion, I have a question as to why are we going to allow an out-of-town organization to come in and post a banner in the center of Clinton when it's in Lancaster? I'm all for being a good neighbor, but I think we might set ourselves open for all kinds of people to come in and put banners whenever they feel the need.
And I agree with you that it could open up the door.
I think it's a great idea, but, I mean, this is Clinton, that's Lancaster,
But in all fairness, I mean, we tend to have a pretty good working relationship with Lancaster and the surrounding communities. And I agree that it may or may not open the door, but if it does, we still get a chance to look at everything objectively and decide based on fact.
Every
We don't
single
have to
one.
accept everything. And we're just, that's just one.
I guess my question would be, who's gonna put it up? Because normally our
Firemen put it up.
Are they gonna agree to
Whatever
do
that's
that? I
been.
mean,
And is there a fee for that?
No.
Okay.
no fee for
Yeah,
it.
anything authorized by this board, they would put up.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it has to be, they shouldn't do, we had a discussion about this before, they shouldn't be doing it until we tell them that it's okay to do it.
Right.
A lot of people was going up.
Yeah, they were just going to the fire department instead of going here. Okay, any other discussion? Motion's been made and seconded to allow the banner. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous choice.
And the next request from the Conservation Commission for use of the Wetland Filing Fund fees to cover consulting costs for Kohler and Colantonio. This is the balance. A couple of meetings ago, the board had approved transferring money to pay a fee, and this is the balance for that project. They had invoices up to, I think, about $3,600 previously, and this is $980, the balance of that contract to finish out the work that was done.
That was it.
It's in there.
I make a motion that we approve the bill as presented by the Conservation.
Second that, Chairman.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
And the final issue is the fire chief report for the period September 2005.
Motion to accept the fire chief report. Second that.
Any discussion?
Under discussion, I would like to see it in a more timely fashion. It's almost a month late. I think the chief, if he's waiting for data regarding the ambulance, he could always send us an addendum to the ambulance enterprise account report. That's all.
Was it a month late? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it didn't make it to the last meeting, and I did talk to the chief, and he had indicated that he gets his ambulance numbers for the utility service that handles the ambulance enterprise fund billing. And in order to get those numbers, they're not in by the first Friday of the month. So in order to include that as a report, he's a little delayed on getting up here. Otherwise, he said, either, didn't think of that if he wanted to do an addendum, or he said he could include prior month's numbers, and that his report would be
always a month
for the
behind.
past month, but the ambulance numbers would be 2 months old. So he said he could do that in order to keep up on that deadline, but he says otherwise it's going to be difficult for him to get it in for that first meeting of the month. So.
I think the addendum's fine.
I think so too.
If we can get that.
At least we have a running count of what's going on, and the ambulance fund, that's a different entity anyway.
Right, I think the addendum's fine, Mike, if you could let me know that. Any other discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? It's unanimous, choice. Okay, we'll go now to, Dennis, you want us to go to old and new business? Okay, we'll go right to old and new business. Trash sticker fees, the TBW Superintendent Christopher McGowan has sent the selectmen a memo indicating that the sale of trash stickers has been declining the past couple of years. He is recommending the selectmen consider raising the trash sticker price to meet the projected cost of the service. Christopher?
How are you?
How are you, sir?
Good.
Sales are going down, eh?
Yeah, in general, several years back, and I had some correspondence between Bill Spratt and Lorraine, actually, just talking about, this was back when the stickers were 75 cents. This is all the way back to 2002, and Lorraine basically said that, they've been selling in the vicinity of 300,000 tickets, and that stickers, I should say, and that basically the history of the sticker sales is that there's been a slight increase every year, but by raising the fees from $75 to $1.50, which is not unexpected, there's actually been a decrease in stickers, which is in general what the state is looking for. They want a pay-as-you-throw system, which is what we have, and they don't want to obviously make the stickers. I mean, it's an enterprise fund, so it's not supposed to make a profit, but it's not supposed to run in deficit. Right. But in general, the theory is that if you're paying for your trash, you're going to look more towards recycling, and it wouldn't be uncommon for the number of stickers to go down, and that's basically what happened. We had a couple years ago 265,000 stickers. This year was, or last fiscal year was slightly less than 250,000. If you look at our revenue for last year, it was about $373,000, and our expenses were $407,000, I think is in here, $407,000. So we ended up running a deficit of about $30,000, a little over $30,000. We did have surplus coming into the year of about $25,000, so we have a negative balance starting the year of about $7,000, which which, you don't want to have a negative balance. It's not the end of the world to have a negative balance in an enterprise fund, but you really don't want to. It's got to come out, I think it comes out of free cash or ends up coming out of free cash. So you want it to come out as balanced as you can, but always in a little bit of a surplus if possible.
Are you making any money on the recycling?
I don't handle the recycling, so I honestly don't
Is it a
know.
wash or is it
No, it actually costs nothing.
cost?
But the cost is a lot less. The tonnage that we pay is a hauling fee that we pay to remove the recyclables. But if you then had that tonnage in your waste stream, you'd be paying, what are we at now, 83?
Yeah, about 83.
$83 a ton, so.
That'll be going up in the next month. They usually, I think around November every year, they raise their fees a little bit.
So we pay a hauling charge, I think like $150 for a big bin of newspaper. And if that bin was put into the trash system, it would be several tons, which would be much more expensive if I didn't do that. So-
Chris, so we're obviously people are purchasing less tickets. Are we throwing away less trash?
People are throwing away less trash, or they're putting, other things that happen is you're allowed a certain size bag and a certain weight bag. So there's probably less people, some people throw out the little small kitchen bags. There's probably less and less of that going on too. They're putting 2 of those into a bigger bag, which is acceptable. It's,
But when we take our trash to get thrown away, are those numbers less because of less people buying less tickets?
the weight, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't looked at the weight. I don't know if that's, yeah, it would be interesting to look at that.
Are we throwing away like?
Trying to think, I'd probably have to go to Waste Management. It would take some doing to go through our file. I mean, we have all the information, obviously, but it's not compiled that way. I could have to go to Waste Management and get, the last several years worth of, but that would be interesting to know if it's less. But,
Chris, with the fee structure, is there any way we can help the seniors?
I don't know how that, I'm
Can we
not
have the
sure.
stores give the senior citizens a discount versus? This is something that affects the seniors more than us
No.
regular residents.
Yeah. I don't know, and I don't know the legalities behind that, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you. I don't know if it's legal or not legal. I'm sure there's ways. You'd have to just have the stores, well, it makes it difficult, because what happens is the way the stores do it, the stores come and buy a box of stickers.
Right.
And they pay $1.75, so, or $1.50 right now for the stickers. And they front the money, and then they go back and they sell them for zero profit. They just, it gets people in the door, obviously, but
Would there be a way to devise a sticker for the senior
I suppose
resident
you'd have
versus
to have
regular resident?
a different color or a separate type of a sticker.
There's other
Is what you'd have to do.
ways to do it too. I mean, you gotta be careful how you do it.
Yeah, you do. I think
Not all
you're right.
seniors need the help, but there's a lot that do. Okay, there's a lot of people that aren't seniors that need the help also. It's not just a senior problem, it's a problem that goes across the board. I think there's low-income people that can't afford it either.
Yeah.
But so there has to be some mechanism where we can help everybody.
What needs, I think, if you're gonna do something like that, and I think it would be something that would have to be looked into by someone besides, it would be maybe something Dennis might have to look at as far as enterprise funds, and I mean, if you're gonna do that, I would say that you wouldn't have the stores sell those trash stickers. You'd have to come to the town hall to get those trash stickers. That would be the only way we'd really be able to, it's not a problem. I mean, they sell them here anyways. They sell stickers here, so it's not a problem to do that.
My issue is I've been approached by a lot of seniors that
Yeah.
in this day and age, with the rising cost of fuel.
Well, fuel's
We all
a
know,
disaster.
I mean, they can't afford cable TV, now the trash stickers go up, what do? Do they choose
Yeah.
this over that? And one elderly resident asked me if there was a way that we could look into this, and I agree with Steve, if there are low-income families that can't afford that price, maybe we could do a sliding scale like we do with school lunch. I mean,
Just the mechanism to do it, we gotta be very careful.
right,
How we do it.
but I don't wanna see us hurt.
I mean, I agree. I don't see that if it's,
Good business
It's not-
doesn't
it's not-
say we should lose money on it.
no,
So
well, you can't lose money. I mean, you
Right.
can't lose money on an enterprise fund for a long period of time, because the state ends up saying, not allowing you to have an enterprise fund, and we lose the whole program. So, I mean, and it's not something that,
Is this
if
something
we
can
raise
table?
the stickers tonight, or we raise the stickers 2 weeks from now, or a month from now, it's not gonna You know, we have to do it, if we want the enterprise fund to end up even at the end of the year, we have to do it very soon, because we're already a few months into it, yeah.
But could we put this off till our next meeting?
Absolutely.
You could look into low-income, elderly, and regular traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to make things complicated, but I have been approached by a lot of people. And I empathize with them. I hate to hear somebody has to go without cable TV and just tries to get whatever channel they can because they can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, not everybody is as fortunate as everyone else. And
So I guess it would be 2 steps to find out, one, if we can do
If it's not a
it.
complicated process, that's what I would like to see if we can look into.
One, can we do it? And 2, we have to set guidelines on who's eligible. And you know, that's something you guys could discuss, and I don't see a big problem with it myself. If it's legal, that would be fine by me, yeah.
Because it's an easy way to do it. Basically, like, once you establish the criteria to do that, or if we can do it or not, you can just say, okay, beginning of the year, you say, here's your allocation. How you use them, up to you.
Right.
But don't come back in the middle of the year saying that that you used up all your tickets. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
Yeah, that's one thing you gotta be careful. You can't just say you can come in and buy as many tickets as you want, because then someone's buying them. Not
You
that,
gotta figure out
you gotta think of the positive side, but you do have to control it. You have to have controls over it.
Yeah, Chris, I'm curious, I want to take this discussion in a little different of a direction. Have you ever looked into privatizing this?
This was looked into several years ago, privatizing, not since I've been here, but back when they were raising the stickers from $75 to $1.50, I believe I had paperwork that it was gonna
Yeah, I
cost
sat on that
somewhere in
committee.
$2.50 to $3 for the same amount of rubbish. It was gonna be pretty near double the money
Right.
to privatize it.
It wasn't cost effective back then.
Is it cost effective now?
I would
Could
have
you-
to solicit quotes.
Could you look into that?
To privatize the whole operation, I'd have to look into quotes. That would take probably some time to implement, which would not negate the fact that we still have to cover the cost of our enterprise fund. But, so I don't think we could take 3 or 4 months, which is what it might take to get all the quotes and everything in. We can't wait that long to raise fees, or we're gonna end up, we can, but when we do raise fees, we may have to raise them
Right.
double what we're proposing to raise them right here, you know, because
Or
at the
take
end of
the-
the year, we gotta come out, we really need to come out whole.
Or
There's
take the
not a
hit.
lot of- If there was a lot of surplus funds at the end of the year we were expecting, you know, for this year, maybe you could let it slide and then raise them, but in general, the Department of Revenue does not let you run these things in a deficit for a long period of time.
Right, well, I would be interested to
But I mean,
see
yeah, I
that.
could dig back, I did have files on,
Yeah.
on the, what was looked at last time, and I could solicit some quotes from some of the, different companies on.
Right, and I also think on our end, I believe the Board of Selectmen is in charge of the recycling center. I think that if you look at some of the other recycling centers around, they take more stuff than the Clinton Recycling Center, more diverse things, you know, like corrugated cardboard and different things like that. So if something like that could be implemented and people could save even more money, you know, it might take some of the heat off how much rubbish they throw away. That might be a good thing to look into.
You know, there's a lot of different recycling. One of the issues with the recycling center and what we take and what we don't take is we gotta look at the room we have down there.
Yeah.
The more stuff you take, the less room we have.
Sure,
You
sure.
know, it's in my area.
Do we have the ability to do curbside with our current situation and staff?
Curbside recycling,
Yeah.
we'd have to sub that out. We'd need different trucks, everything about it is different.
Well, we can
It's not
bring that
safe
up at
to
the
pick up
recycling
rubbish.
committee meeting again, because I know Mark Iacobucci, we had talked about that, and we're kind of pursuing that. It's costly though.
It's very expensive.
So you gotta be
Curbside
very-
recycling is very expensive.
Yeah.
But there's a
Taking
couple options.
more
that
than
are
what
open.
we have, you know, there's some, you know, in a lot of respects, I'd like to take more than what we take right now, because bulky stuff especially, we end up picking up that stuff all over town anyway.
Anyway.
A lot of time, it's not like a widespread problem, but we.
But it's more than
we
it
get
used to be.
mattresses, we get.
What is the
different
most
things.
marketable? Back in the 80s, the most marketable was the photo finish recycling stuff. Is that still the common, or is it cardboard now? Glass used to be a big thing in the 80s. Brown glass, clear glass, that was a big moneymaker.
They're all.
I don't think anything is now.
I think.
We pay for every item, a home fee for every item. It doesn't cost us, but
It's a trucking fee,
pay a trucking
yeah.
fee to get rid of it.
Mr.
I'll
Chairman,
solicit quotes from maybe, I'll try to find 3 companies willing to give us quotes on taking over the rubbish. I
That
can
would
do
be
that,
great.
that's not a problem.
That would be good to see.
the other thing that I heard, I was talking to some other towns, and they're getting together with other towns to kind of try to consolidate tipping fees, you know, like, if they can take more and stuff like that together as,
Wheelabrator did that back in the early 80s, yeah.
and I know that they're getting lower tipping fees because they're consolidating, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that we may look at also, I don't know.
Yeah, last year, we just signed a contract for, I don't know how many years with
Yeah.
Waste Management.
Where are you going, over in Millbury?
No, it doesn't go to Millbury, it goes to Fitchburg. It's
Oh, okay.
the open landfill, it doesn't go to the incinerator.
Right.
And I know they had worked, I know John Kittredge was involved and a few other people
There's a
involved.
5-year contract with renewable provisions for renewing every 5 years. I think for 15 years with renewable after 10.
So we're probably stuck in it, not stuck, I mean, it was a good deal at the time. We ended up getting a pretty good rate, and I think we're 2 years into that, if I'm not mistaken.
At least 2.
2 years into it. So
Seems like
we'll
a
probably need
minimum
3 more years in that.
Is there any way that we could get an accounting from you of the enterprise fund? I'd like to see,
From the enterprise fund?
yeah, I'd like to see an
Oh, yeah,
accounting
the
of,
town accountant has all the expenditures and revenues and expenditures, sure.
is it broken down by,
Sure, broken down by every bill.
tonnage
Every
and-
bill that was paid is listed on there. And every person that got paid is on there, sure.
so how many tons were dumped, how much per?
No, I wouldn't say how many tons of dumped, just how much money it was, but I get reports from Waste Management on how many tons it dumped, and that's not a problem at all.
Now, do we ever spot check what that says to what they're saying we dumped compared to what we say?
Yeah, we get
we-
slips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get slips on it. Just so you know, any residents of the town can come to our office and get that same
Don't
information.
they weigh your trucks every day?
Without going to the Freedom of Information Act, in case anyone's wondering.
Good one. Can you get that information, Mike? Could you provide that for the board?
What are we looking
Because if they
at?
go to the Freedom of Information Act, they have to pay.
I don't
We
have
could
time.
charge them for the information, and they could just come and get it for free.
What are we looking at here, Chris? I mean, you need this
Recyclable paper, right?
within the next couple of weeks, or
To get the...
raised?
To get the rates raised? Yeah, I would say if it's not the next meeting, by the meeting after, I would say we should try to get it done.
Do you guys want to
I'd
just...
I'd just like to give
How much-
every effort we
how
can
much
for
would
the
I'm with
seniors.
you, I'm with you, yeah.
7, what did you say?
What do you think, what was the
$7
number we're
grand,
gonna be in
what's that?
deficit, you think?
We were 30,000 deficit last year,
Last year.
but we had 25 in the bank, so
So we're
we ended
fine.
up with a $7,000 negative
So we're
balance.
starting with 7,000.
And this year,
We're starting 7 in the hole.
it's okay.
It all depends on how many stickers we sell, that's the thing, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what we're gonna bring in for revenue. Our
Do we know
budget
how-
is
What
$440,000.
what would be your recommendation for, the price?
I mean, see, there's different issues. If it was just do we want to keep it relatively even, like $1.50, $1.75, $2, or do we want to go somewhere in the middle? To make it work financially, we probably should be somewhere between $1.75 and $2. Maybe $1.80 would probably cover the budget, $1.85, but now you end up with,
See, I'm just,
I don't know if people, and I don't mind doing that at all. It doesn't bother me, and some people like to be able to add a quip with it. Right now, it's easy, it's $1.50. It's not too
easy
hard to
math.
add up in your head what it is, but
Right.
to cover the cost, we don't really need to get to $2, and $1.75, depending on how many stickers we sell, is probably gonna be around pretty borderline.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not something we can't re-raise again, if we had to. If we get to $1.75, we're finding we're short,
see, I'm just a little hesitant right now, because what I'm seeing is I'm seeing this trend that I'm seeing more trash thrown on the sides, and then you guys do a pretty good job of picking it up right away, because I see it one day, and the next day it'll be gone.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing a good job. So I'm wondering, if we raise it, how much more we're gonna start getting on the sides of the road that we're gonna pick up
That's what I was
anyway
just gonna question.
for
Yeah.
nothing, and what do we gain?
And, similar to additional recycling is additional dumping when you raise fees.
Well, if I
too.
don't keep my dumpster locked in my place of business,
Yeah, they'll throw
I
it
came
right
there
in.
twice and it was chock full.
Yeah, no question about it. But the fact remains that we have to cover the costs. That's, Either we have to cover the costs, or we have to do away with the enterprise fund and budget it through the, and raise taxes and do it through the regular budget. Those are our choices, so.
Mike, do we know how long your letters run in a deficit? Is there like a time limit? 1 year, 2 year, 5 years?
Yeah, generally, if it's 2 years, they'll start to look at it. What happens is a negative balance will hit against our fund balance at the end of the year, so our closeout, which would turn into free cash, would be reduced by the amount of that deficit. So, yeah, so it would be covered, but after, say, 2 years, going into 3 years, if you're not making an effort to try and reduce the expenses or bring up revenues, then they'll start to question whether or not you're.
So we could potentially not raise them this year, but we seriously have to look at it next year before we get it.
The longer you wait, the more deficit. Well, the more deficit, now you have to try to cover that deficit, because eventually you've got to cover that.
It's gonna be a bigger, if you wait, it's gonna be a bigger jump.
No, I understand that, but
And we're not off by, it's not like it's a really
I realize that.
difficult issue, and, I mean, it's not like it's the fund is so far in deficit that, like it was a few years ago, 75 cents to have to go to $1.50 was tough. I mean, basically it hasn't been raised in, how many years has it been? 4 years, 3 years, and, tip and fees alone have gone up a tremendous amount. The fuel,
Well, this is the
everything,
problem, heating fuel and all that wasn't what it is today, 3 years ago.
And it's the same thing for that enterprise fund, has the same issues as the
Sure.
homeowners have,
Sure.
unfortunately,
Absolutely.
What do you guys, do you wanna do something with this tonight, or?
I'll be honest, I don't feel comfortable moving on this at all. I want to get some more information. I understand what Chris is saying.
You wanna,
Go ahead.
what we could do, not to cut you off, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Stephen, but why don't I look into the privatizing it first of all? Because that gives you a good idea of what it would cost to farm it out to somebody else, and if we're seeing prices at $2.50, $3 for the same amount of waste, then it's, we need to, let people know that it's actually a pretty good deal. But if it's less than that, then we may want to look at that. So let me make a lot of calls between now and the next meeting. I'm coming to the next meeting anyway, so we can revisit this at the next meeting. And maybe I'll have more information on the privatization and some of the other issues that we're talking about.
And that's a good point, because I think in all fairness, I think people are getting hit really hard with everything else. And I think, at this point right now, I'm saying we take the hit at the town,
Yeah,
how I feel about it.
I don't take this lightly,
I know you don't.
raising any of the fees, not in the least, I'd rather not. I really wanted to wait, and I could see this coming a little while back, but I wanted to see the final numbers come in from the year. I knew it wasn't a huge problem, and then I look at the numbers and I said, we really need to do something.
What have we sold so far in tickets, do we know?
I would have to go, it's about a month behind probably in realizing, so I don't even know what we've sold so far this year.
So we
I'll
can't even
have that-
benchmark yet that
I can
yet,
have
so we
that
do-
information next.
But that's the kind of stuff I want to see. I mean, how far off are we the goal, that we can do some
If we could
projections
get
out there? see what we
July,
got.
August, September, I'd be able to get three months. I doubt I'd be able to get the 4 months.
But if you get the 3
probably
months, at least you know what, for the first 3 months, for a quarter,
Some of those are a little difficult, because what happens is, if one of the stores that are selling tickets comes in and buys a big box of tickets,
but they don't sell them.
2 days earlier or 2 days later, it makes a big difference on the revenue, because that's basically, it's not actually how many stickers go on the bag, it's how many the stores buy from us, that's how
Right.
it goes, so.
Exactly.
That's fine, I can look into all that stuff.
Yeah, but I think we need to get some information.
Okay,
I think we got a good start, I think.
Yeah, good.
can I have a motion? Do a motion?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to table it until we get more information.
I'll second.
Motion
Thank you,
made.
Chris, for the information.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
You got discussion? No. It's unanimous, Joyce. Thanks, Chris. I think we might need Michael for this one. Next up is the WRTA bus route. They postponed implementation of their services changes until January of 2006. They're preparing to meet this deadline and put together a schedule and route for their new shuttle service between Clinton and West Boylston. Shuttle would conduct 3 runs per day with the same vehicle now used for the fixed route service, and will stop at Clinton Hospital for all 3 trips. Cost of this proposal is higher than current assessment paid by the town. WRTA has agreed to absorb the added cost and keep the same assessment. if he wants to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I got a couple questions, Mike and I talked about that briefly, but really kind of need to know what the schedule is, because
Yeah,
if
they
the
don't-
schedule's
they don't
not
even
there,
mention
it may not make
Mike,
any
can you
sense for us.
elaborate a little bit on that
Yeah,
WRTA?
They indicated that they would do the 3 trips to Clinton Hospital. Their operations people were putting together schedules to how it would meet West Boylston to here and back and forth, and the times and all that. So they said that I told them I'd hope to have something by today to present the board, but they said they're going to be getting me some hard numbers.
They're gonna do a schedule?
Right.
And when do we have to pay them? Don't we pay X amount of money for the service?
We get an assessment on
Right.
our cherry sheet.
Okay, we get an
Part of
assessment
our
on it.
state county charges, that's part of our cherry sheet money, so it just goes to them
Just
automatically.
directly.
So we don't
Automatic.
actually pay them,
It just comes off that, right?
It comes off our cherry sheet and gets sent to us.
But if we were not to have the service, does that money get added back to the cherry sheet for us?
Yeah, wouldn't that 50,000 come back to us?
That's what I want to know.
If we
Yeah,
pull
we
out
wouldn't
their
pay if we
loophole.
didn't have
And the
WRTA.
They're
reason
not
I'm
gonna
asking-
provide us with the services we want as a
Right.
town.
Right.
Right.
You tell them to go,
That's
don't
what
we
I'm
get
asking.
money back?
Yeah, they don't
We
take
wouldn't
the
get
money.
charged.
Because the schedule's going to be critical, because if the schedule 3 times a day, but if the times are like 1, 2, and 3 o'clock, that doesn't help anybody.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be that, but I think it needs to be something in the morning, something in noon, and something in the afternoon to get back.
Absolutely, yeah. And part of that 50,000 also includes money for the senior van piece, so that we would keep.
Right.
So it would be, the difference would be about, I think about 34,000, that would be the assessment for the fixed group. So,
It's the enterprise.
that we wouldn't get assessed, that money wouldn't go from the town.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. So I'll try to get that information as soon as possible. I can send it to the board, an email for the next meeting.
Yeah, that would
see
be
what it
good.
is, yeah.
Do you think you'll have it by the next meeting?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean,
All
they're
right.
hoping to have it this week for me, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Next is the municipal hearing officer. Fire and Safety Act that passed last year authorizes civil violations to be issued for violating the state fire or building code. Citation booklets are being printed by the state to begin implementation of the ticket process.
But
Is
this
that
is
something?
This is not mandatory,
It's-
correct, Michael?
Right, yeah.
That's the fire chief in discretion, or?
No,
discretion.
what has happened under this new act, they do allow you, if you wanted to, is to have a ticketing process. So if the building inspector or the fire chief finds some violations, they can actually issue you a ticket. So instead of writing up a notice of violation, and if you don't comply, bring you to court and that whole thing, they can actually issue a fine.
Civil fine.
Or a civil fine for doing that. Which would help generate money, but then that money has to go to a dedicated account for further training, for fire training and building inspector training, in order to keep up on the provisions of the safety requirements in the act. So it's something, it's not mandatory, it's not required, but it's just something that would help generate hopefully compliance and also generate some revenue for further training for fire and building personnel.
And that's up to each town to adopt the citations or not? if they
Well,
want.
what it would be is that they will not issue these citation books to a community unless there is a hearing officer in place to hear appeals. So just like a speeding ticket, you would have the ability to appeal that ticket,
Yeah.
and you have to have a hearing, each community has to have a hearing officer that they can apply for a hearing to come in and listen to their violation. So until the hearing officer appointed, which according to the fire chief is done by the board of selectmen, the fire marshal's office will not issue any citation books to the town. I don't know if they're ready, if they're printed up yet, but when they do get finalized, until they're notified that there is an appointed hearing officer, the fire department won't get those.
They won't get them.
And before the whole process starts, don't we have to have a public hearing and all that on it to adopt it into the town's bylaws and what have you, when you raise fees and structures such as this?
I'm not sure, but the law is fairly lengthy, that new law, so the fire chief would be more versed on it than I would.
Can we check on that process first? And
Jim, I'll make a motion that we table this, and have the fire chief come in our next meeting and talk about this, and maybe we can get the actual law, and what the actual procedure is when we have to appeal something, so we could maybe it's not even worth doing. I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
I can get you the statute and explain the statute to you, and then maybe the chief can come in and might give you some input from a fire chief standpoint.
And Peter Pender, you might want Peter Pender to come in too,
Have both.
where it affects both of them.
Before we table
Yeah.
or anything, it says right here that they're having a hearing on it, November 3rd, out in Worcester.
Training session, right?
Training session,
Yeah.
UMass, Worcester. I think it would be good if someone from the town went there to check it out. I mean, you'd get a total understanding of the whole
Right.
thing. Maybe Mike could attend that, or that would be a good thing, if you're willing.
I mean, do you have time?
Sure. Yeah, I'm open on that day. Yeah, that might be a point.
Then we'd have a really good understanding of it.
So I'll add that to my motion then.
All right, so the motion is to table it and have Michael go to the training session on November 3rd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. On discussion?
Yep.
Now, the chief could go also, right?
Yeah, I think he had,
Probably
That's
should.
probably a good idea.
He had
Or
mentioned
somebody
that-
from the fire department.
yeah, I think he had mentioned it when I spoke to him last week, he was hoping to go himself too. And I indicated that it would be good for the board, him to come up to speak to the board, but he's out of town.
I know, he said
today,
that.
So he's not able to be here, but I think he was going to try and go there as well. But, yeah,
I'll make my motion that we amended that the chief also attend. If he can't, he assigns somebody that can go in his place.
Okay.
Just so we have somebody from the fire department there.
All right, so the motion's been amended to also
I'll second that.
allow the fire chief to go.
Or designate.
Or his designate. Is there a second to that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion?
None.
Joe? No. Bob?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Choice is unanimous.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll now go, does anybody have committee reports?
Not at this time.
Stephen?
None at this time, Mr.
Joe?
Chair.
Nope. Next up, public comment. Any public comment? There being none.
Hold on.
Is there public comment? Yeah. Okay, come on. Okay, if you would, just your name and address for the secretary?
Sure. James LeBlanc, Pondview Drive, Clinton, from the South Meadow Pond and Wildlife Association. We're not entirely clear that the Board of Selectmen ever had a copy of the signed lease, the agreement that we had between the two organizations. So the only purpose for us coming tonight was to present you with copies of the documents with regards to the lease that we have. These are the signed copies that we had, and we wanted to ensure that each of you had a copy, and that we were going to give Michael and Dennis each a copy as well.
Okay, fine.
I do have signed copies, but everybody else will.
Can we ask where we found it? Can we ask where we found
I
it?
have it on the file.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Thank you.
Okay, if not, we're gonna enter executive session under Article 6, is that correct, Mr. Solicitor?
Well, perhaps, I believe that the completion of negotiations will be a shorter executive session, so maybe we can go into executive session under Article 3.
Okay, if I can just hold that while the police chief is here, let's jump back to the late night closings.
Yes.
Chief, you could just come up for 1 second. Take a motion to jump back to that late night closing.
I'll make the motion that we return back to the late night closing.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, it's unanimous. Chief, we wanted a couple discussions. We had the late night closings come up for the Saturdays in November. We had some, just questions, I think, first on the Jack situation. We thought the plan originally was to give them October, September, and then go back to November and allow them that.
Yeah,
You
that's
okay
was
with
my
that?
understanding of
You're okay
what
with
we
that?
decided. I'm okay with that, yes.
No issues, anything like that? No issues to your knowledge, chief?
No issues, no.
Okay. And did you,
I had a question. I heard there was an issue in breakaways. Is that correct? It was serving after hours? Is that accurate, not accurate?
Whether they were serving after hours or people were late getting out, I'm not sure what the problem was. There was nothing that was brought to my attention by the officer, so I'm going to say that it wasn't a serious problem.
Okay. The police log in the newspaper noted that they were in violation.
Okay.
And someone brought it to my attention as well.
Okay. I'll check that for you, Bob, but I don't recall reading that, the whole
It
complaint.
was in the last Courier.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. What's the pleasure of the board then for the late night closing?
I would make a motion that we approve all of the late night closings with the exception of breakaway billiards till we get a further report from the chief.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to allow all the late night closings with the exception of breakaway until we get a further...
Until we get a further update from the chief. If there's nothing there, that's fine. I would go ahead and let them continue on, but it was brought to my attention by a citizen, so.
Just under discussion, Chief, when would you be able to do that at the quickest?
I can do that tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Let Mike know.
All right. Dennis, if we vote on this now, do we need another meeting to have another motion? If he comes back tomorrow and says that there was no big deal at breakaway billiards?
So we do what we've done in the past, which was to approve it
Subject to the chiefs? Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, now we'll go under Article 3, executive session.
Total of 4 executive sessions. One member Article 3 would be negotiation.
Yeah.
3 would be Article 6. The third one would be for Article 3 for public works and negotiation.
Okay.
And the fourth one would be executive session, Article 3, the update on the water treatment plant litigation.
All right, you think we should go under Article 3, police first?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be going into executive session under Article 3, police negotiations. And then Article 6. Article 6.
Do we do the open space plan?
What do we do?
Open space plan acquisition discussion?
Yeah, that's gonna be executive session, I believe, under Article 6. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Article session, Bob. Aye. Chair votes by aye, it's unanimous. Thank you. After executive session, we'll be just coming back to sign the warrant. Yes.